How's it going, everybody? In this video I want to show you my Cyber branded deck. This is more of like an experimental thing I'm going to be testing out the next few maybe weeks or a month, depending on how much I can actually get to play the deck. Master Duel right now does not have branded fusion, which would be great if they did because I'd be able to play test a lot more. So for right now, my playtesting is going to be a little bit limited. However, the branded engine actually works very well with Cyber Dragons. I recognize I'm pretty late to the party. A bunch of videos have already been made about this. However, I thought it'd be a good time to pick up the cards and try for myself because they're super cheap. But in this video specifically, we're just going to go over my deck tech. And then in future videos, if you like this, I'll be doing some combos and stuff. But again, I still have to learn the deck. Also, feel free to give me some tips down below because I'm interested in learning this deck a little bit more. The main thing I wanted to do with this deck is to keep as much Cyber Dragons as possible and just splash the branded engine just to add some more, I guess, meta-ness to it and competitiveness, as well as the explosiveness. If you see my previous deck tech, you'll notice that this is quite similar, and that's because it is. So I'm not going to harp on too many things in particular. So for this build, I do have 2 Cyber Dragons. I did opt to play 1 less just for space purposes, and I mean, I think 3 is a little overkill if you're not running machine dupe. I mean, I really do like running 3 in general, but I guess the main reason behind this is I only have 2 ulti rares, so I can't run a 3rd. I think some people also in the comments maybe take me too seriously. That's a joke. I'm just kidding. I'm playing around. I did want to try cutting down as many cards as I possibly could in this deck, so just 2 Cyber Dragons will suffice for now, I guess. If I was running machine dupe, obviously 3, but 2 because I want to play as many Cyber Dragons as possible. And next up we have 3 core. I feel like this card doesn't need any introduction or anything. You're playing Cyber Dragons, you run 3. And now the next card is 2 hers. The reason why I dropped down the 2 is because, again, for space purposes, and I'm not running Galaxy Soldier. That is one thing I took out. So I mean, after we're done with this, I will show you all the cards I took out from my previous deck tech, which I guess will help you get a better idea of my decisions. But I took out Galaxy Soldier, so I figured that 2 hers is quite fine. With branded fusion, we have ways of setting it to the graveyard from the deck, which is even more helpful, so we actually don't even really need it in our hand. So running less copies is actually fine. And we got 1 Naxter. I actually am debating running 2 of these. I haven't actually tried it yet, but definitely need 1 because it's just so good. I don't want to open this card. However, it comes in later in the game when necessary. It's just sometimes having 2 might be helpful, but for now, I'm just running 1. The last Cyber Dragon card we got is the Eltonin, just a sleeper card. I feel like it does some work when it's needed. Helps you clear the board and get out of weird board states, and it's searchable, so to me, I like adding that card. And then next up we got the Cyber Dark package. We got the 2 Claw and the Chimera. I'm still running the Power Bond because it's just too fun, and I love getting the Power Bond in my hand, doing a lot of damage. The Cyber Dark Claws can help us get core by searching out Horizon, just another way to get core to our hand and get the play that we want to get going. Obviously, Chimera is the Power Bond outlet. Then we got 2 Fallen of Albaz. This is the main card we're going to be sending off of Branded Fusion. This card is super spicy, and this is actually why I think it interacts really well with our deck. In case if you don't know, if this card is normal summon or special summon, you can discard a card, fusion summon up to 1 monster from your extra deck using monsters from either side of the field as fusion material. I think this works pretty well just in general with the theme of Cyber Dragons because it's like contact fusing. In a sense, that is what you are doing. Contact fusing away your opponent's board, and the Fallen cards, or I guess Fallen of Albaz, and specifically gives us another outlet to do that. I'm still running the Pancratops. I think it's just too good. It's just a big boy comes out on the board. It's just another beefy Cyber Dragon. And next up we have 1 Jizakirub. Still running this because it just helps solve a lot of problems and it's searchable with Repair Plant. I'm really hoping the Clockwork card does come out because once it does, then Jizakirub might not be a thing, and not a thing anymore, but not needed. However, for now, I like having 1 in the deck just because it's my solve anything answer and it's searchable. That rounds up the monsters. The only thing, again, different about this is no Galaxy Soldiers, and instead we got the 2 Fallen of Albaz. And I guess 1 less Cyber Dragon and 1 less Cyber Dragon hers. Alright, so let's move on over to the spell cards. For the spell cards, we obviously have 3 emergency. Not really anything to discuss here, you just use them. It's your main outlet to getting cards you need. Still kept the 2 Cyber Dark Realm. This is just because 1's not enough. It's another way to get either Claw or Chimera, mainly Chimera to the hand, just to go for that OTK play. Got the one cybernetic horizon to search off of claw in hopes of getting to another core or a core, just another way of getting to that. We got one cybernetic horizon just for a search outlet for claw, so we can get just another way of getting core to our hand. And then we got the repair plant just as a way to get Yugioh, as well as another cyber dragon to our hand. If we weren't running Yugioh, I wouldn't run repair plant, which would actually give us 2 more open available spots in the card slot, so that is definitely a consideration. But for now, I'm going to be trying this out. Next up, we have 2 power bond because 1 is not enough. If 1 gets negated or we end up drawing 1, then that just really stinks. So we do need 2 to ensure that we're going to be able to at least go for that play. I'm not running overload fusion, and I guess the main reason behind that is because I wanted to focus more on the power bond build. Might be dumb, but that's just kind of how I wanted to play the game. Overload fusion also only is able to target Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, and I'm currently only running 1, although 2 might be better. But I do really enjoy summoning things like Cyber Twin and Cyber End, but right now we're not using Cyber End in this deck because the extra deck slots are taken all up. Very sad. Also, I'm not running Cyber Load Fusion, and I guess the main reason behind that again is because I'd rather save room for the power bond. There is definitely a lot of good plays and stuff you can make with Cyber Load Fusion, but again, I opted to not do that for space reasons. Maybe that's dumb of me, but it is how it is. Next up, we got 3 Branded Fusion, kind of like just a god card. This card is so good. Probably will end up getting limited, or not, I don't think banned, but a little bit limited. Just in case you're wondering, fusion summon 1 fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material. Also, this locks us in the fusion summons, however it doesn't really matter because we're running awesome cards like Cyber Twin Dragon. It doesn't lock us into like dragons or anything like that, it's just fusion cards. This is great because we can dump hers into the graveyard from the deck, that's how we do this, triggering hers' ability to get a Cyber Dragon, so works out really well. So 3 of those, pretty obvious. Next up, we do run 2 triple tactics talents because I think the card is really good. We're almost always getting hand trapped and stuff, although that is actually a consideration, is there is less hand traps I think in this format, or there might be. If that's the consideration or the problem, then we might be running maybe 1 of these or none at all. But I really like the card because most of the time our opponent is going to be activating something during one of our main phases. But again, considering the meta, that could change. I decided to put 2 Dark Ruler in the main because it's just too good. Although we can't necessarily OTK our opponent that turn, we don't have to per se. If we end up having to play a card like Dark Ruler, it's because we're probably going to lose the game anyway, so having this card at least main board gives us the opportunity to, I guess, kind of come back in a sense. Like, we're not going to be OTKing the turn we really play Dark Ruler anyway, we just want to make sure we don't lose. I think Dark Ruler does give us that. I was also kind of considering Droplet other than the price range, but it's just, I think this deck, or Cyber Dragons in particular, has a hard time, I guess in my opinion. Again, I'm not a competitive player or anything, this is just from my perspective. Dumping a card from our hand or discarding a card from our hand really is hurtful for this deck because of that card advantage that I feel like we kind of lack. Again, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just my opinion. I still run 2 Raigekis because I love Raigekis. What a fun card. And it's like a cheap Lightning Storm, and it also hits defense position monsters, although it can't hit back row, but Raigeki's OG. Got the Change of Heart, this is my favorite magic card, and it's always fun to steal cards. And the Harpies main because there's always back row, and it's always going to be valid, in a sense. Obviously there's going to be some decks that aren't, but Harpies, great card. And the Called By, because I feel like you have to. And then 2 Infinite Impermanents because also I didn't feel like running 3 because of space. I think we kept this to a 40 card board just to make sure we're hitting our Branded Fusion as well as our core and other plays like that. I guess it's more of like an OTK style deck. I'm really hoping the consistency of the 40 cards is there just to make sure I hit my drops. So I had to cut 1 Infinite Impermanents, and we got the Cyber Load just as a going first card. At least we can have some sort of interaction with our opponents. And this rounds out the spells and traps. Again, the big thing, we needed 3 spots for the Branded Fusion. I took out a Raigeki and an Infinite Impermanence to replace it with Dark Ruler no more. And that is really it. Just to go over here, here's the Overload Fusion, the 2 Galaxy Soldiers, and the Hers. And I did have Dark Hole, that is the other card I had. Alright, so that rounds this up. Now let's head on over to the extra deck section, which arguably has the most changes to it. So now going to the extra deck monsters, we're running a Twin. Really love this card, it's super playable, really easy to get out. Would prefer Cyber End, but having that 1 extra Cyber Dragon isn't always possible. So that's obviously a first pick. Got the Rampage Dragon, you just need it. It's your main way of destroying back row, and it's just a very easily summoned monster because of the requirements of only 2 Cyber Dragon monsters, not Cyber Dragons. I think 2 in this deck might be much better. There's definitely cards I can cut, but for now I just put 1 in. This would probably go to 2. After we're done lining it up, I'll tell you what cards I'd probably take out for the second Rampage. We got the Fortress Dragon because we have Yugioh. It's a way to get rid of it. And also if our opponent plays a Zeus or some of the machine monsters, we can just suck it up really easily. Got the 2 Mega Fleet still because I think 1's not enough. There's just too many monsters in the extra monster zone. This comes up way too often too. Comes in very, very handy. We got the Eternity Dragon because we can send it off of Cybernetic Horizon and help protect our fusion monsters to further the OTK. Also, I actually really just like this card because as long as we have a fusion monster in our graveyard, this thing is almost indestructible. So it's more of like a later game move, getting that effect out because we don't have too many ways of just easily dumping fusion monsters in our graveyard. I'm definitely not relying on using this card, but it does come up pretty often. It's nice to have around. So that rounds up the Fusion Cyber Dragons. The next up, these are the branded cards. So this is the Lubellion. This requires 1 Dark and 1 Fallen of Albaz. So if this card is summoned, you can discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. And we do that by shuffling monsters on our field, graveyard, or face-up banished cards into the deck. This does also lock us in the fusion monsters, but it's a good way of getting cards in our face-up banished zone or graveyard back into the deck. It's pretty good, not the best one here in my opinion, but still really good. We got Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon, 3k attack. This card is absolutely crazy. So it's 1 Fallen of Albaz and 1 Fusion Synchro XYZ of Link monster. So this is going to be a great card if we do end up normal or special summoning Fallen of Albaz. We can just actually use this to fusion summon one of our opponent's monsters because they most likely will have an extra deck monster out. As a quick effect, we can send 1 fusion monster from our extra deck to the graveyard that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material, and we can banish 1 monster on the field. We can't use this next turn. And if this card leaves the field because an opponent's card, we can destroy all of our opponent's monsters during the end phase of this turn. Really, really good. Next up, we got Albion, the Branded Dragon. This requires a Light and a Fallen of Albaz, and this is probably going to be the one we're going to be going into the most. When this is fusion summoned, we can then also summon a level 8 or lower fusion monster from our extra deck, and we can do that by banishing cards from our hand, field, or graveyard. And when this card gets into the graveyard, we can put to our hand or set a branded spell or trap card. Great way of getting another branded fusion. Do run 2 of those because this works really well off of our hers, as well as if we do pitch it using Mirror Jade, we can get that effect. Got the Owl Mirage just because you need a way of getting Cyber Dragon into the graveyard or just a card in the graveyard. Then we got Nova Infinity because it's still a great card. It comes up. Got the Seeger because linking stuff is awesome. And then we got the Lina because I actually didn't know what other card I'd put here, but now I think I do. Probably Chimeritic Rampage Dragon. This card, it does come up and I do like it, but again, it might be taken out for this specific deck because now we have better options. Off of Albion and Lubellion's effect, we can actually summon Chimeritic Rampage and Cyber Twin since they are level 8 or lower. That is super good, and that's actually one of the explosive reasons why I like this deck. So you can brand a fusion into Albion and then immediately go into Twin or Chimeritic. We can definitely do a combo video soon. However, this video is already getting long and I don't know if I want to actually do that right now. I think the branded cards give Cyber Dragons a little bit extra push and oomph without actually, I guess, sacrificing too much of the Cyber Dragon. I think it also gives it a little bit more competitiveness to it. I used to kind of be like a purist Cyber Dragon, like, oh, you could only play Cyber Dragon cards in Cyber Dragon, but in reality, like, there are other really good cards you can add to the deck to help, I guess, facilitate or enhance already the elements of Cyber Dragon, just to give it, again, a little bit more oomph. And I think the Fallen cards really do that, because all you really need is 2 Fallen of Albaz, 3 branded fusion, and then the extra deck space. It does take up a lot, which, I mean, Cyber Dragons does kind of need, but having 4 to 5 slots in the extra deck for just the Fallen cards really give this deck a lot more, I guess, competitiveness to it. Again, I could be wrong. I still need to play test this, but it seems super, super fun either way, and I'm looking forward to playing with this. So just going over some sideboard cards really quick. This obviously can be interchangeable, and depending on who you're playing with, your locals, or you're going to a big tournament or whatever. But these are just some cards I have in mind currently right now. Got a Lava Golem because I know it's really good against Sprite. Also, this deck doesn't necessarily need its special summon as much, so being able just to use a normal summon on Lava Golem could actually be really beneficial. 3 Silent Graveyard just because it's a really cheap way to deal with tier elements. I really do need DD Crow, I just haven't really spent the money on it yet. Got an Anti-Spell Fragrance. I would move this up to 3. I actually just ordered 2 more copies, so they're coming in the mail. Got Dimensional Barrier just in case if our opponent makes us go first. This deals with a lot of problems that might arise. Got a Red Reboot because this card's amazing. And I really don't like back row decks that much. Got a Cosmic Cyclone. I did just order 2 more. Actually, I ordered 3 of these. I got a different rarity. But I ordered 3 of these, so that would replace the Twin Twister because I do feel like the banish effect is just so good against a lot of the decks, especially Eldritch and stuff. Just completely removing their trap card is good. Twin Twister is another good option. Again, a meta call, but depends what you want. Got the one more Dark Ruler for a lot of other decks. Another Infinite Permanence just to round it off. And then the Raigeki, just because of space. But this would be an Anti-Spell Fragrance. And maybe Infinite Permanence probably would just be another Spell Fragrance because it's a little bit more impactful in my opinion. But again, there's a lot of other cards you can throw in. So definitely let me know some other sideboard options you're considering. I do kind of want to build a specific like sideboard guide for Cyber Dragons, but I also don't know if I have the knowledge to actually do that. But it would be kind of a good resource. I still have yet to play a lot of games with this deck, just a friendly reminder, so don't just copy it and say, oh, this deck is trash or whatever. This is just going to be the deck that I'm probably going to be playtesting the most for the month of September. Probably going to be doing one of these videos at the beginning of every month just to say, hey, this is the Cyber Dragon deck that I'm going to be, I guess, playtesting the most just because I think it's kind of fun to incorporate different elements and mechanics into already an archetype that you like, just to kind of see if it expands upon the elements already existing in the deck. I think it's kind of fun too. But yeah, thanks for watching everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more Cyber Dragon videos. See you around.